Well, welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. Today, we are going to cover our second part of the first hour of The Two Towers. We started our conversation last time, and it ran a little long, but I've got my notes, and we're going to finish those off. I think it ends right about 57 minutes or so, as far as my coverage of it, but we'll get there. But anyway, I suppose, yeah, Evan, you said the last bit of Lord of the Rings news that you really had was just a casting for the new series.
Yeah.
At this very point, there's not a lot new that we've seen, so I guess we don't have any news. Before we get started, I would just say, I guess a little behind the scenes thing. Evan here kept messing with me as I was trying to do the intro. So if anything sounded a little bit off, as I said the intro today, that's because I was fighting off laughing.
You're
you
welcome.
can hear the before the show kind of things, like before we start our recording. Before you guys start hearing, we are recording for a little while. So if you want to hear any of that, or any of the things that happen after it, or just flat out uncensored content, uncut, uncensored, mostly, you can head on over to Patreon. We have that set up now. Other than that, I say let's get started and let's continue. So last time we started off by, well, I guess you usually get the recap. You want to do a quick one?
Yeah.
And I mean quick.
So last time we started the coverage of the Two Towers. We started off with Frodo and Sam over in Ellen Muil, making their way to Mordor. Where they got kind of lost up there in the mountains. But they encountered Gollum. He's trying to sneak up on them, trying to get the One Ring back. But they capture him, and he's essentially turns into their guide to try and get to the Black Gates so they can get into Mordor. With Merry and Pippin, they have been, they were captured by the Uruk-hai, which we saw at the very end of the first movie. And we continue seeing them, in captivity. As the Uruk-hai are taking them closer and closer to Isengard. Along their way, the Uruk-hai stop along the outskirts of Fangorn Forest, where they are then ambushed by some riders of Rohan who cut them down pretty quickly, from what we can tell. And Merry and Pippin flee into Fangorn Forest. And where we left off with them, they got dumped in front of the White Wizard, as he was referred to by Treebeard, one of the Ents that they met as they entered Fangorn Forest. And then with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they were tracking the party of Uruk-hai and made their way into the land of Rohan, where they encountered Éomer and his party just after they had killed the Uruk-hai, and they learned from Éomer that they left no survivors in that party, or in that group of Uruk-hai, right there along the lines of Fangorn.
Did you said something about a white wizard? What did you say?
Merry and Pippin got kind of dumped at the feet of the White Wizard by Treebeard.
Okay, but now we're going. Okay, so
yes, so I'm
you're summarizing by group member, not necessarily by chronological happening.
Per the different groups where they split up.
Okay,
but they get Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli get that information from Éomer that he and his party have taken out that group of Uruk-hai and left no survivors. So Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli make their way over to the dead, burnt carcasses. They find, one of the belts that one of the two hobbits were wearing. Aragorn does some tracking and learns that they escaped and fled into Fangorn. And that's where we left off with those three. We also had Éomer, who we were introduced to. And we first see him as he leads a group of Rohirrim to try and find Theodred, the son of the king of Rohan. They find him. He's injured, severely injured, and they bring him back to Edoras, which is the name of the city, the capital of Rohan, where Éomer is then banished, which leads to Éomer killing that group of orcs, running into Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli in those events.
Okay.
And then we also kind of learned, Saruman is sending, Uruk-hai and Dunlin raiders and whatnot throughout Rohan to raid and pillage and all that.
Yep.
So,
Okay. I was a little bit confused for a while there. I see the style that you approached, like as far as how you were summarizing what happened. It was a lot more. I will say it was a lot more linear, but knowing how it happened chronologically, it threw me for a loop.
But, I was trying to stick to this is what this group did, this is what this group did, this is what this group did, instead of jumping back and forth with like we had Frodo and Sam, and then Merry and Pippin, and then Aragorn, then Merry and Pippin, then Aragorn, then Éomer, then Frodo and Sam. You know what I mean?
And for a summary, that makes a lot of sense. I think taking that approach, once I got used to what you were doing, it was like, okay, yeah. That makes sense because in a summary, it's like it's going to take longer to summarize if we're going boop, 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 boop. But if you just summarize, it's like, this is what happened here with this group. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I saw the confusion on your face too. You're like, what is he talking? Though that did not happen before that. What is he? No, that happened after that. I could see it.
Yeah, it's like that movie with Zach Galifianakis with all the numbers and stuff, and he's just like,
Beautiful Mind?
No, it wasn't that one. I don't know what movie it is actually.
Oh, okay.
But it's always a meme now where he's just like thinking, and you see all these like mathematical symbols and stuff going around, and he's just like piecing it together, like what's going on. I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
Speaking of, A Beautiful Mind is a really freaking good movie. I like that one. That and Big Fish, but that one may be just because of Ewan McGregor.
Well, I mean that's possible.
Either way,
but the last event we saw for our, the last episode as we were covering the first part was Merry and Pippin being, dumped at the feet of the White Wizard. By Treebeard. That was the last event chronologically. And starting with our part 2 coverage, we have Frodo and Sam following Gollum as Gollum leads them out of Emyn Muil. And we can kind of see, we can see Mordor there in the background as Gollum leads them into a swamp. And let me just get the correct name. So Gollum actually leads them into what's known as the Dead Marshes, which, so all the way back at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, when we see, that big battle, the Battle of the Last Alliance, which takes place in the plateau of Gorgoroth, which is in Mordor. It's just a chunk of land in Mordor. But that's the final battle of that whole war. But as the men and elves and dwarves were trying to push into Mordor, they fight Mordor on what is now the Dead Marshes and Daggerlad, which is just north of the Dead Marshes. So, like, this was an ancient battlefield with literally thousands upon thousands of lives lost on both sides of said war and whatnot, and it's literally just this chunk of it has just turned into a marsh, a swampy, smelly, stuffy, just gross area, more or less.
Gotcha.
Heavily due to that war that we see the final battle of at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. What are you doing? What? What? Did she poop?
Yeah, the kitty was pooping.
Gosh.
Or at least going to the bathroom. I don't know.
Um,
Anyway,
but yeah, so the Frodo and Sam and Gollum have just entered the Dead Marshes. And as Gollum says, he's going to show them a safe way through the mist because the Dead Marshes is covered in a thick fog and whatnot, and it's very easy to get lost in there because it's so big. And again, kind of maze-like, because obviously there's not walls or anything, so you can see for a ways away. But with it being a swamp, it's very watery and muddy and whatnot, and so parts of the land that they can walk on lead to dead ends, lead back around to where you were before, and all this other kind of stuff. And so armies have literally gotten lost in the Dead Marshes and died to a man because an entire army would get lost in there. For the sole fact that we can see Mordor over there, we know which direction is what, but oh shoot, there's this huge chunk of deep water that we can't get through, so we gotta find a way around it. Oh shoot, we've gone into circles, we're back where we were before. That type of stuff. And as Gollum even says, he tells them not to follow the light. We can see a lot of torches just left here and there where, people or orcs, men, elves, whoever have died and their torches just fallen there. And along with a lot of locations in Middle Earth, there's a weird magical presence there. So these torches could have been dropped 1,000 years ago, but because of this weird presence, it's kind of like a angry spirits type of thing, because of this not okay presence in the Dead Marshes, they're still lit, and as we see, sometimes you can see a dead body in the water that looks like it could be freshly dead, but in truth, that person died 3,000 years ago. So it's got a really weird mystical vibe to it.
Yeah. But this is going on. They're following Gollum. They venture across, and eventually they take a rest, and Gollum is freaking out, saying that they're famished, hungry, and Gollum picks up a worm and eats it, and slurps it up like a spaghetti noodle.
Yeah.
Frodo tosses him some bread, kind of as a pity, again. And Gollum tells Frodo that Master cares, talking of the ring. I missed a little bit. He tosses him the bread, and Gollum chokes on it, and because it's so dry and stuff, and he's like, oh god.
When Gollum says master, just to clarify, because I think you kind of said it he's referring to the ring as master. Gollum is actually referring to Frodo as master. I don't know if that's how you meant to say it or whatnot, but just
I was a little confused as to what he meant.
Yeah, so when Gollum says master, when he's master cares, or something along those lines, he's referring to Frodo.
Okay.
Because he essentially sees Frodo as the master of the precious. So that's my master. He has the ring, type of deal.
But Gollum gets close to Frodo before Frodo eventually pushes him away, because he's kind of getting closer to the ring.
Yeah.
But we see them moving along the bog a bit, and as they do see like you mentioned, some bodies oddly preserved. They see a bunch of them in the water, and just the faces. And these things, at least, well, not quite yet, actually. They see dead faces in the water. Gollum says, all dead, all rotten, elves and men. A large battle from long ago put them there, which is what you already mentioned.
Yeah,
what that battle was.
That specifically what he's referring to is the the war between Sauron and the men and elves and dwarves and whatnot. And so like again, like these bodies specifically that they are seeing in the water right now is like men and elves and even some orcs that died there like 3,000 years ago. And like they look like, yeah, okay, that person's dead. Their cheeks are sinking in a little bit, but it's like they don't look like they've been dead for that long. Like they don't look
Mm-hmm.
decayed. Type
No.
of it's and like I said, it's a weird thing that's happening. It's kind of like that whole mystical, like black arts type thing. Like there's some sort of magic within the land itself at this point from all the lives lost and all that kind of stuff that's causing this effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like
Um.
angry spirits that couldn't move on to the afterlife type of deal. You know.
Yeah. But Frodo walks towards the water and looks at one of the faces in it. And honestly,
Yeah.
this one looks like the creator beings from Prometheus. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not.
It just kind of looks odd.
Yeah, and this
Um,
specifically, as he's walking to this specific body, is when Gollum tells them not to follow the light, referring to the torches that we can see kind of scattered around.
mhm.
And this one specifically is an elf. If anybody was curious or didn't know, it's an elf. You can tell by like the armor; it matches the armor. If we look back at that big battle at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, it's ancient elven armor, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm. But the dead faces, its eyes that he's looking at open up, and Frodo falls in. As he's in the water, we see ghosts and ghouls kind of like reaching for him, and eventually a hand reaches down and pulls him out, and it's Gollum, and he
Yeah.
says, "Don't follow the lights."
And so again, these ghosts or spirits or whatever that we're seeing are kind of like those lost spirits of the dead that couldn't move on to like the afterlife and that type of stuff. It's like those lost spirits, those angry souls that couldn't leave the world quite yet because they have a vengeance or whatever weird spirity ghosty stuff you want to refer to
Hmm.
is essentially what these are.
Yeah. But then we cut to nighttime. They're all laying down, or not all of them, I guess. But Frodo's sitting there petting the ring like a doofus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a freaking censored that one for you.
Oh, thanks for that. Um, you're a little bit late.
Dang it! I thought I was on point.
Anyway, so yeah, he's petting the ring, kind of like, I don't know, but then Gollum is over next to the water and says, "So bright, so beautiful, our precious." Kind of goes on talking about that. Frodo then kind of gets up and goes over and asks Gollum who he is, and Gollum sings and rhymes a little bit. Like, it doesn't sound like singing, but the captions had little music symbols next to him, so he's kind of like doing something like that.
Yeah.
But Frodo calls Gollum Smeagol, which causes Gollum to dig a bit in his memories, remembering that was once his name. That's who he was.
Yeah.
Which this information was gathered from Gandalf.
Yeah.
From Gandalf. I don't know how. I think I over enunciated the L, but whatever.
It's you got to remember too, right? Gollum got the ring over 500 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, by the time that Bilbo gets it from Gollum, when Bilbo finds it there in that cave, Gollum had already had it for 500 years. So at this point, it's been like 560 years since he first got the ring, and for almost all of that time, he's only known himself as Gollum. He probably doesn't remember a whole lot of his life before he found the ring.
No.
There's probably not much that he remembers, and as Frodo kind of says here in the scene, he says, you aren't much different from a hobbit. And as we know, hobbits can live fairly long. Like at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, it's Bilbo's 111th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, part of that is with Bilbo having the ring for a while and all that, but hobbits do live longer than your typical man. And so if Smeagol at the time, was pretty close to a hobbit, you could expect him to have a little longer of a life, but like the ring definitely like extends his life for 500 years. And so obviously with all that time going by and losing himself in the ring and all of that, like he's not going to remember a whole lot. And so when he does hear Frodo say his name, it's kind of like a, wait, was that was my name? Whoa.
Yeah, it's his recollection. But we hear
we hear a screech. It's not making sense there, buddy.
No, they're not.
Interesting.
Oh.
Um.
Wait a minute. What the? Yes, I am out of place. I had something later on, and I was confusing it here. We're good. Yes, proceed.
Yeah, we hear a screech right as Gollum is about to say, what his name was about right as he's about to say Smeagol. And Sam wakes up and he says Black Riders, referring to the Nazgul. Gollum tells, kind of yells for them all to hide. But Frodo falls over and he's starting to feel the pain of that wound from the Morgul blade back in Fellowship of the Ring, and he collapses. He's clutching his chest where he got stabbed. We get a brief flash of back to that scene where he has the ring on and he sees the Black Riders in their kind of spiritually weird form when he put the ring on. And Sam comes over and drags him where they all hide under like a large bush or a small tree,
something,
whatever that's supposed to be. And Sam even asks, he's like, I thought we killed them, referring to, and Arwen did the whole magic water thing and swept them all down the river. But as Gollum kind of reaffirms for us, like, you can't kill them. They're spirits, they're wraiths. They're not living or dead. They're just kind of like in between somewhere. So you can wash them away in a giant flood. You can catch them on fire, as we saw Aragorn do on Weathertop in the last movie. But that doesn't kill them. That just kind of sends them away for a little bit.
Yeah, and we see a Black Rider scouring the area though, and he's riding a drake, which I've coined as a smogling.
So, the thing with those though is we never actually get a name or a term to refer to them as, besides fell beasts.
Right.
So we
say that it's a fell beast.
Yeah, but even in the books, we don't get any sort of, it's a offspring of a drake, or it's a distant relation to drakes, or anything like that. They are simply and solely referred to, even in the books, as fell beasts. And so
I know. I was going off of what it looks like to kind of paint a visual.
Yeah, and I mean it more or less looks like a drake. It got two hind legs and then wings.
Right.
But for technicalities and whatnot, I guess. This is just the way that the producers for the movie decided to, picture them. But per the books and the lore and all that kind of stuff, we're never actually given a description of them. So this is just Percy Jackson's, not Percy Jackson. Is that who it is? I'm drawing a blank now. I don't know why I even said that. Yeah, Peter Jackson, not Percy. I'm a lightning thief, all that. This is just Peter Jackson's depiction of what he thinks the fell beasts look like. Because as I
You able
said
to
in
hear
the
me?
books, and yeah, I can hear you. But as I said, like in the books, and in lore and in some of the deeper lore books and that type of stuff, we're never actually given a description of what they look like. So this is just Peter Jackson's his personal depiction of them. Oh, I lost you for a second. Now you're back.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You were breaking up and sounding like an Autobot having a seizure.
Oh.
So I mean, your end of the recording is good, but I'll be honest, I have no idea what you said for the last minute. So I've jotted down the time and I just left and rejoined. So here we
Okay.
are. I guess we can, move along
Yeah.
with
So
whatever is going on.
just so you know what I said specifically, maybe not so much the viewers because they'll hear that, anyways. But per the books and lore and all that kind of stuff for Middle Earth, there's not an actual description for what the fell beasts look like. This is just Peter Jackson's
Hmm.
his personal view or like his personal opinion of what the fell beasts look like. But there's
Gotcha.
no actual, canon lore or whatever you want to call it description of them. So
Okay.
like for all we know, like these fell beasts could have 8 legs and 3 wings. Like and 16 mouths and 1 eye. Like it could be something completely outlandish like that. Like we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, yeah, so they hide from that thing, and the captions do call it a fell beast. Yeah, like you said. Um, as this thing's searching, Frodo reaches for the ring, kind of, and Sam stops him.
Yeah, it's kind of
Which
like
this one, part of me wants to be like, gosh, dang it, Frodo. But at the same time, it is the ring messing with him. It's not necessarily his own wrongdoing.
it's the ring messing with him, and then it's also because we see it happen whenever the ring wraiths are near, is when we see him go for the ring like that. So it's something to do with the ring itself, and then some sort of influence, I would say, that the fell beast, or not the fell beast, that the ring wraiths are having on him. It's some sort of weird, like, dual mind that they're having on him. It's yeah. I didn't know how else to say it, so I kind of had to roll with
It's fine.
it. But as that scene kind of comes to an end, as we see the fell beast, kind of go off away from them, and it jumps to Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, going in Fangorn, and it shows Gimli taste some weird liquid substance on a leaf, and then exclaim, "Orc blood."
Yeah, he determines that it's orc blood.
Via taste,
and
for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's what he went with right away. I mean, I feel like he could have smelt it and probably been able to tell, but I mean,
Probably.
who knows?
But yeah, he determines it's orc blood, and they continue to follow the trail that's left by Treebeard. Now, before we continue, I want to insert an ad break here, a sponsor break, because we are about 30 minutes into the recording. So let's do that. And resuming, Legolas comments on the forest being very old, full of memory and anger.
Yeah,
he also notes that the trees are speaking to one another. Gimli says, what do trees have to talk about other than the consistency of squirrel droppings? By the way, I assume that these trees maybe have a Vietnamese accent.
This is one of those things with Legolas. It's one of those weird elven, strong connection to nature type of, I don't want to call it a power, but, kind of like sense. The elves are well known for, their connections with nature, and as we saw in The Hobbit, with the stars and all that stuff. And so that's just kind of so that's something that, Legolas can pick up on because he's an elf, you know. And we hear like like we heard when the orcs and Uruk-hai first made their camp right there along the trees. We hear that weird kind of like creaky, groaning noise,
Right.
and Gimli lifts his axe in reaction.
Yeah.
And Aragorn turns to him and tells him to lower the axe.
Yeah.
For obviously trees are not big fans of axes. Especially when you come
Right.
into Middle Earth, where the trees are literally alive and can move and all of that. Probably not the
Right, and
biggest
actually-
fans and might hurt you.
Yeah. So but yeah, Legolas comments that the trees are speaking to one another, and out from the bushes comes this little orange thing with a mustache and says, "I'll tell you what the trees are saying. I'm the Lorax." And
Jacob, I think you're mixing up movies again. I think you crossed those on accident, buddy.
nah, I know what I saw. Anyway,
Jacob, are you on your medication?
yes.
For those wondering, he just spazzed out on our Discord call there.
You probably heard the glass rattle on my freaking desk.
Probably heard him smack his head against the mic.
So I didn't actually make contact with my mic, but I gave myself some freaking headache, whiplash stuff going on because I'm not feeling too right with that. Anyway,
but
so
Legolas does say that the trees are waking up and speaking to each other.
I'm waking up, I feel it.
So it kind of leaves the impression of like, the trees, kind of like that whole thing in the Chronicles of Narnia, where in like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the trees speak to each other and they do the stuff with their petals and whatnot. And then in the second movie, they're just normal trees because they've been asleep for however long. Kind of, I like to think it's kind of a similar thing, if anybody remembers those movies.
I remember
you have,
liking
what's her name,
those
Lucy,
movies.
the little one.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the first one, she's like talking to the trees, and the trees have their petals form in the shape of a lady, and she waves at it. And then in the second one, she's talking to the trees, and everybody's looking at her like she's an idiot.
I remember really liking those movies, but they stopped making them, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they made 3 of them, and then
Yeah.
that was it.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Anyway.
But back to Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Yep. The Legolas comments that the White Wizard approaches, and so they all kind of draw their weapons, get ready. Aragorn notes that they must be quick. They whip around really quick and are speedily countered and disarmed by the White Wizard.
Yeah,
who's glowing white.
Well, because Aragorn he says like, don't let him speak because he'll cast a spell on us. So it's like, like you said, like they got to be quick. Like if they let him say anything, he's gonna put them under whether it be some sort of spell to, I don't know, kill themselves or turn them into toads or, who knows what type of deal,
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, they whip around and get disarmed pretty thoroughly.
Right. And the White Wizard speaks, and it sounds like multiple people talking, like multiple voices echoing, and one of them for sure is Saruman.
And so I just wanted to say, because there is a Lego Lord of the Rings game for Xbox 360 and I think PS3. But in that game, you hit this scene, this cutscene, and the way that they get disarmed in the game, for Aragorn specifically, his sword gets turned into bananas.
It's funny.
I don't know why my mind went there, but like I was just sitting here like, man, wait, Aragorn's sword doesn't turn into bananas. Oh yeah, that's the Lego game.
Yeah. But anyway, the voice says you are tracking the footsteps of 2 young hobbits. He says they passed through the other day. The White Wizard decreases his brightness a little bit to reveal who he is, and it is Gandalf.
Yeah.
We see that Gandalf's there, and
Dun, dun,
Legolas
dun!
says, "What?"
Dun, dun, dun!
Okay.
Dramatic effect,
But anyway,
sorry.
Legolas says that they mistook him for Saruman, and he replies that he is Saruman, as Saruman should have been. So my interpretation of that is that, the White Wizard is kind of the head of their order, right? He's the good one to, like, kind of...
So, not the White Wizard specifically.
Okay.
So, in this instance, Saruman was the White, Saruman the White, and he was the head of the order. But it's more along the lines of, like, I am Saruman as he should have been, in the sense of a good guy. Someone that looks out for the good, that looks out for nature, that cares about people. That type of sense. Whereas, with Saruman falling and becoming Saruman of many colors, obviously, we know he has fallen and joined the bad side and all that kind of stuff, Count Dooku style. And so, like, per appearance, his cloak and everything like that is supposed to have a rainbow color to it. Like, it's supposed to shimmer in different colors and constantly changing colors and all that kind of stuff. And so that's just like this signifying visually that he's fallen, that he's not the good guy he's not a good guy anymore. And so with Gandalf coming back now as Gandalf the White, it's like, this is what Saruman should have been. This is the good version of Saruman. If Saruman would have stuck, if he would have gone down the path that he was supposed to, I am essentially representing who he should have been in that sense.
Well, they tell him, though, they're like, you fell, though. And he says that he fell through fire and water, fought the Balrog, and finally won. He then basically died, went back to being an angel for a bit, and then was reborn. I mean, that's basically what he was saying. He says he's, like, soars through the stars and, like, stuff. But he's basically going back up to the above.
And as he's talking about his fight with the Balrog, we get a visual of it as well. And it shows Gandalf up on the top of a mountain, up on a tower.
I was kind of confused by that part.
Yeah. And so as Gandalf says, let me find it real quick. He says from I just gotta catch up. From the lowest dungeon to the highest peak, he fought with the Balrog of Morgoth. And so what he's referring to there is, we saw at the beginning of this film him falling and fighting the Balrog. They fall into that water, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the lowest dungeon he's referring to. That is like the bottom of the world, where I was saying last episode about like the unnamed creatures and whatnot at the very bottom of like the world type of deal. That's where he fought the Balrog, and that's where Gandalf actually sees some of those creatures. But in the books, it even says that he will not speak of them because they were so horrifying. And somehow, some way, they end up getting onto the top of this tower, which is known as the Tower of Durin.
But how? How did they get all the way up there from being all the way down?
A very long battle that stretches through lots of running and coming back and fighting and all that stuff. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But that tower specifically is the Tower of Durin, which, if you guys remember me talking about him before, that's like, Durin is like the head honcho for the dwarves, and so they've had like a Durin the First, the Second, the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, all that. And that is actually the very tippity top of Moria. So that tower actually leads back down into Moria itself.
So did he just like fall to the depths and then just clip through the bottom and like come back up top like some video games do?
I would, if I had to venture a guess and make an educated guess about how it happens. I would say more than likely Gandalf and the Balrog fall, as we saw, fighting.
Hmm.
They go into the water, get up onto the shoreline down there somewhere, down deep down there by all the water, find somewhere, and they continue their fight. The Balrog, I would have guessed, maybe tries to flee, try to run, something like that, because it has wings, it can fly. And Gandalf, like, essentially hitches a ride with it up and fights it as it takes them up to the top of the tower.
So he falls down with it, grabs onto it, flies back up, and
That
just
would be
continues this fight here and there. That makes most sense to me.
Educated guess.
Yeah, that makes most sense. But
I'm not 100% sure how specifically they go from. So like I said, like that water that we see in the very opening scene for this movie. There's that water, and then that goes down even further to another layer where these horrifying, terrible creatures are that are unnamed.
Hmm.
It's a weird, like, layer system with Middle Earth fantasy. I don't know. And because, like I said, in the books, Gandalf the White comments on it briefly and says, as he was fighting the Balrog, down there at the very depths of the world, he sees these horrifying creatures and will not speak of them ever again to anybody because they're that terrifying, and then continues with his whole Balrog fight.
Well, anyway, so he died, went back to being an angel for a bit or whatever, and was reborn.
And he even says that he strayed out of thought and time. And so over the course of us seeing some weird visual effects on screen and whatnot, Gandalf literally goes through what felt like to him thousands upon thousands of years, and then gets brought back as Gandalf the White.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a brand new thing as well, because this has only happened one other time in Middle Earth history and whatnot, which was with an elf who, during another war, fought and killed a Balrog and then died himself. And the god of this universe was like, hey, I'm going to restore you back to life for your heroic actions and your, I don't know, chivalry and a bunch of knight terms and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
His good person and all that kind of stuff. So that happens like 4,000 some odd years ago. And since then, it has never happened again until Gandalf.
Hmm.
That, someone, even though Gandalf is like quote unquote an angel, but someone dies, and then the god of this universe was like, I'm going to restore you back to life because you deserve it. It's never happened with anybody else besides that one elf, and now Gandalf. So this is like not a whole new thing, but it's still a very new thing. Like, this doesn't happen every other Friday.
Yeah. I almost took it as like because of his efforts and what he did there, he has a greater purpose, so therefore he has been placed back on this physical realm or whatever.
Yeah, and so part of it is
not just necessarily like, because the way you made it sound is kind of like it's rewarding to the individual versus for the greater good, which appears is why Gandalf was brought back, because he has a big part to play in the upcoming events.
So part of it is like a reward. It's like, I'm gonna bring you back to life because of your selflessness, like your sacrifice that you made and the contributions that you've done for good. But also a very big part of it is, as Gandalf says, he says, I've been sent back to you at the turn of the tide. So part of it is, like, I'm gonna return you back as a reward type of deal. But you also got to go back and help the good guys not die.
Mm-hmm.
Because just so everybody knows, Gandalf is a major reason why men don't die. Like, Gandalf plays a very big role, in case people couldn't pick up on that.
You want to explain a little bit?
I can't without spoiling some stuff.
Oh. Okay.
I'll say it along the lines of like this, because we see Gandalf in The Hobbit, and we've covered that, right?
Yeah.
Without Gandalf, obviously the company of Thorin would never have gone to try and retake the Lonely Mountain, right? So on one part of it, like his efforts eventually lead to the death of Thorin, Fili, and Kili in a very roundabout way, right?
Yeah.
But also, if Gandalf had never gone to Dol Guldur, they never would have known that Sauron has returned. If Gandalf had not since then gone back to Erebor and tried to warn them all about the orcs and showing up and whatnot, like, who knows how that could have turned out, Gandalf, I'm trying to think of how to say it. He's very good at interfering without interfering. So, like, in the sense of Thorin, right, with trying to take back the Lonely Mountain. Thorin had thought about it before Gandalf. Gandalf would assume that Thorin has thought about it because that's Thorin's birthright. So what does Gandalf do? He shows up and says, "Hey, I'll help you take back the Lonely Mountain. I'm here to help." Which gives Thorin that last little nudge he needs to go try and retake the Lonely Mountain. When Radagast shows up and tells him about the necromancer in Dol Guldur, Gandalf goes, "Okay, I'm going to go check it out now that Galadriel has told me to. I'm going to go check it out. Hey, Radagast, go just let them know what I'm doing as I go check this out." What happens? Elrond, Galadriel, Saruman show up, save him, yes, but they find out that Sauron has returned, and that proved it to Saruman at that moment, It's like he does these small little things that don't seem like a big deal in the moment, but have impacts that ripple throughout, that like years to come type of deal.
Yeah. Well,
and so he does a lot more of that in this movie and the next movie, and I'll try and point those out when we get to those points.
Gotcha.
But he has he's very good at saying things in a way that makes it like, that's a good idea. I had a good idea, but in reality, it was Gandalf's idea. And he also likes to undermine some people and just kind of do his own thing. And hey, guess what? It turned out for the good, so you can't punish me. Which, again, we'll see later on, and I'll point it out when we get to those moments.
All right. But cutting back to where we got off track from a little bit.
Yes.
They refer to him as Gandalf, and he starts to kind of remembering his name. He's like, "Oh, yeah, Gandalf the Grey. I was once called that. Now I am Gandalf the White."
Yeah, and again, this all comes back to the whole, for Gandalf, it's been like thousands upon thousands of years.
Right, yeah.
Like, long time span. He doesn't remember that people called him Gandalf, but as soon as they say it, he's like, "Oh, yeah, that was my name."
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the whole kind of thing with Gollum, but much more time has passed.
Yeah, and a little less corruption.
Well, yeah, tomato potato.
Anyway, Gimli talks about how bad the forest is. Kind of starts like, "Why would we let this, wretched place?" And then like the trees groan, and he's like, "I mean, beautiful place."
Yeah.
But he says, I think Gandalf says that Merry and Pippin came to Fangorn not by chance. Gandalf says the Ents are going to wake up. Gimli kind of gets nervous. But Gandalf assures that Merry and Pippin are safe.
Yeah. He also tells them that they need to go to Edoras, again, the capital of Rohan.
Mm-hmm.
And things are going ill for the king, or going bad for the king. And Gimli even kind of makes a comment too of like, that's no short ride. Like that's a good ways away from where we're at.
But then they kind of reach the edge of the forest. Gandalf whistles some Disney princess crap, and in comes a white horse. Legolas says it's a Maros. Gandalf introduces the horse as Shadowfax, Lord of all horses. He also provides reports on previously used shadows, which brings me to our next sponsor. Did you know that as the day progresses and the lighting angle changes, your shadow actually doesn't stay the same and just change shapes? Each form is transformed and transferred between person to person. So if you're unsure where your shadow has been recently, show me the Shadowfax, right? Shadowfax is a commercial messenger moth-based service that supplies shadow history reports to individuals and establishment on used shadows and lighting tints for Fangorn and Rohan consumers. So, nice. Just wanted to throw that plug there. That's Anyway, so they ride out, and I think that right there is a good place to stop.
I don't know a whole lot of backstory and whatnot for Shadowfax, Gandalf's horse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Gandalf kind of gives the feel of like this is some otherworldly being,
Yeah.
The way he kind of talks about the horse.
I got that impression as well, but
I honestly, I really don't know any background stuff on Shadowfax other than he's a horse and Gandalf rides him in this movie and the next movie.
Pretty much. And if you use the special promo code Gandalf, you do get 20% off of your first 3 credit or shadow reports.
Nice. But yeah, as you said, we see Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli all riding out on the plains on their way to Edoras. But we're gonna end this episode here.
Yep. That's where my notes are done.
We're about an hour into the movie.
Yep.
We'll pick up with our next coverage. We'll start with Merry and Pippin and Fangorn with Treebeard, and that's where we will pick up next time for our Lord of the Rings coverage.
Yep.
But as always, every 1,000 downloads we have blooper reel.
Yep.
I don't know how close we are to the next one.
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I haven't checked.
Yeah, we'll check on that, and whenever we hit that next 1,000 downloads, we'll get you guys a blooper reel. Just like always, every 25 reviews on Apple Podcast is a live stream where you guys can interact with us, ask questions, give comments as we do in real time, as we do a coverage of whatever part of a film or a couple episodes or whatever that we're covering at that time. And as I've said before, that's on you guys, the listeners, to go and leave those reviews, spread the word, so friends and family and whoever can go and leave those reviews as well. So.
Yep. And as we've been saying and mentioning, we also have started up a Patreon. So if you guys want to support the show, get some extra content, get early access content, you can become one of 2 tiers. Right now we have $5 a month, which lands you early access content. As soon as I get it up or recorded, it's late. As soon as I get it edited. I upload it to Anchor and schedule it for the appropriate day, but I also upload it to Patreon, immediately available for any patrons. And then we got our $7 a month where you can get the same thing, plus uncensored early access. So you get the good chunk of time before and after a recording that we haven't started the show or ended it, but we're just kind of chatting and being stupid.
We're just being dumb and mainly me being dumb, I think.
Well, you know.
But I mean, that just kind of comes with me being me. Chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Well, you know. Yeah. But anyway, you know, so all of that plus, like I said, uncensored. So being, you know, just there's no real edits being made. But you can support us there and get that out of it. But
and
other than that,
with that too, we are a little ahead of schedule with our recordings compared to when they actually get uploaded. So, you know, it's as of right now, you know, as we record this episode, because I don't want to speak for the future. But as of right now, you know, there's definitely some benefit with that early access.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple episodes uploaded already to Patreon that you guys could, you know, listen to and enjoy. If you decide to, you know, be generous enough to donate to the podcast.
Right, and speaking on that, at the time of this being public, there is likely anywhere from 6 to 7 uncensored episodes out.
So all those that you hear in the normal podcast, you'll get to hear the actual words.
Yeah. Yep. And actually thinking I may have overshot that on the number, but there's a good amount still. Yeah, so you get that. And anyway.
As always, we'll have the one link in the description to take you to our other links for, you know, the email, the Discord, was it Instagram, TikTok?
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, email, Discord, different podcast platforms, Patreon.
Yeah, so there'll be one link in the description to take you to all those other links. So yeah, you can go check us out there. Go leave comments, ask questions, all that kind of stuff on those different platforms through those different methods.
Yep.
But unless you've got anything else, Jacob.
I don't. I need sleep.
We'll catch you guys next time. Next podcast episode will be Star Wars, but next Lord of the Rings coverage will be part 3 of The Two Towers.
Bye.
Deuces.